In the quiet town of Tingley, England, an eerie and puzzling incident came to light that left investigators utterly perplexed. The story revolves around Zigmund Adamski, who vanished under inexplicable circumstances, only to reappear lifeless atop a heap of coal a few days later. With perplexing marks and a complex web of mystery surrounding his fate, the enigmatic case of Zigmund Adamski continues to confound investigators and spark theories of otherworldly involvement. Let's journey over to the charming village of Tingley, situated in the picturesque West Yorkshire countryside of England. Here lives Zigmund Adamski, a coal miner. Originally hailing from Poland, Zigmund spent much of his early life in his home country. However, in 1960, at the age of 37, he and his wife Lottie made a life-altering choice to move to the United Kingdom, seeking a fresh beginning together. Upon their arrival, Zigmund and Lottie swiftly formed new connections and seamlessly embraced the tranquil pace of life in a rural English small town. They were known for their contentment as a couple, never seeking conflict and always radiating joy. Yet, no one could have foreseen the perplexing sequence of events that would unfold. Even today, the circumstances surrounding his case remain unresolved, leaving behind a multitude of unanswered queries and an enduring sense of fascination. On the bright afternoon of June 6, 1980, Zigmund, then 56 years old, left his residence on foot with a simple task at hand: to purchase groceries from a nearby store. Before setting off on his approximately 1-mile journey to the town, he engaged in a friendly conversation with one of his neighbors. Taking in the pleasant ambience of that serene summer day, everything seemed entirely ordinary at the time. However, neither Zigmund or his spouse, nor anyone familiar with him, could have anticipated that this would mark the final occasion they would ever see him alive. Zigmund didn't come back after heading out to get groceries. He seemingly disappeared, except for a significant twist about a week later. Zigmund reappeared, and things were far from normal. It was 5 days later, on June 11th, that a startling revelation took place. Zigmund's lifeless body was discovered in a coal yard located in Todmorden, a considerable distance of more than 20 miles from his home. Trevor Parker, the son of the coal yard proprietor, inadvertently stumbled upon this tragic scene. It happened at around 3:45 p.m., while Trevor was opening the gates of the compound to prepare for his afternoon shift. His eyes fell upon a man's body resting atop a towering 12-foot heap of coal. Recognizing the gravity of the situation immediately, Trevor wasted no time and promptly notified the authorities. The police officer who received the call was Constable Alan Godfrey of the West Yorkshire Police. As he hurried to the scene, he must have been quite taken aback by the dispatcher's report of a body found on a pile of coal. Definitely an unusual call for this otherwise tranquil region of England. So around 4:10 p.m., Constable Godfrey arrived at the coal yard and met with Trevor Parker, who directed him to the massive coal heap. Once Godfrey observed the clearly deceased man on top, he requested additional support and backup from officers, crime scene technicians, and the Criminal Investigation Department. Like any police inquiry, initial statements were collected. In this case, the first statement was taken from Trevor Parker, considering he stumbled upon this unsettling scene. However, his responses were baffling, to say the least. Upon being questioned, Trevor shared that he had last been to the coal yard around 11 a.m. on that same morning. He emphasized that during his previous visit, there had been no sign of Zigmund Adamski's lifeless body. His answers raised more questions than they answered. Parker firmly asserted that he had diligently closed and secured the gates when he left, with no awareness of anyone else entering the premises since then. This disclosure hinted at a disconcerting possibility that the body might have appeared within the span of those 5 hours in between. Constable Godfrey wasted no time and promptly summoned an ambulance upon his arrival at the scene. Paramedics swiftly concluded that Adamski had experienced a massive cardiac arrest. Yet, upon closer examination of the circumstances surrounding his passing, a series of suspicious elements began to come to light. These foreboding factors prompted the authorities to consider the potential involvement of foul play. The plot thickens as the investigation delves into even more unsettling details. Firstly, and perhaps most disturbing of all, were the findings of second-degree burn marks on the back of Zigmund's neck and shoulders. These burns were curiously covered with a green-like gel substance, raising the unsettling possibility that someone had attempted to treat these wounds while Zigmund was still alive. Secondly, the manner in which Zigmund was discovered, along with his overall state of his lifeless body, cast significant doubt on the idea of a death caused by natural factors. The circumstances simply didn't align with a peaceful passing. Several pieces of the puzzle, along with Parker's statement, remained confounding. An eerie and puzzling detail emerged concerning the peculiar state of Adamski's attire. It seemed as though his clothing had been hastily rearranged by an unfamiliar hand, almost as if someone with little knowledge of dressing a human being had clumsily tried to redress him after his demise. For example, his coat was buttoned up incorrectly. His trousers and belt were fastened improperly and left loose, almost as if they had been pulled on without being properly secured. Even his shoes were left untied. To add to the puzzle, Adamski's wife later revealed that the shirt he had been wearing on that day of his disappearance was now missing, along with his wallet and watch. So they had dressed him anew, but decided not to include his shirt. Despite the disorder of his clothing, it was significant that the general condition of his attire remained relatively intact. This finding effectively dismissed the possibility that he had been living outdoors or exposed to the harsh conditions during the 5 days that he was missing. This perplexing blend of meticulously cared for clothes combined with incorrect reassembly only heightened the overall mystery. Continuing to pile on to the peculiarities, one of the most bewildering aspects was the impeccable cleanliness of Adamski's body. It was as though he had just emerged from a refreshing shower, despite having been absent for nearly a whole week. Remarkably, he exhibited only a day's worth of stubble growth. What added to the astonishment was the complete absence of coal dust on his skin or his attire. This effectively eliminated the possibility that he had climbed onto the coal heap on his own power before succumbing to his heart attack. Lastly, and perhaps the most perplexing of all, was the total lack of footprints or indications of disturbances on the coal pile itself. No trace existed of anyone scaling it, or any indication that it had been tampered with in any manner. Zigmund's lifeless form lay on his back, his face oriented towards the sky. The scene left a chilling impression, as if he had been dropped from above, causing investigators to grapple with the puzzling circumstances surrounding where he was found. The puzzle grew even more intricate with each unanswered question, leaving those engaged in the investigation both baffled and concerned. Gottfried proceeded to share a chilling detail, the expression of terror etched onto Adamski's contorted face. This unsettling observation was subsequently supported by the coroner's findings, which indicated that Adamski must have undergone intense fear or agony in his final moments. Based on the post-mortem examination, it was established that Mr. Adamski met his unfortunate end between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on that very Wednesday, when his lifeless body was discovered. Surprisingly, it was unveiled that Adamski had consumed food adequately during his period of absence, barring the day of his passing. This raised further intrigue, as it appears he had been taken care of during the time he was unaccounted for. Furthermore, forensic analysis unveiled that the burn marks on his neck and shoulders had been inflicted just 2 days prior to his death. The enigmatic gel-like substance applied to these burns underwent testing at a home office laboratory, yet its exact composition remains elusive. Interestingly, there was no record of Adamski seeking such treatment at any local hospital. As the investigation continued to unfold, no clear motive or discernible reason for Adamski's abrupt disappearance could be ascertained. The puzzle's complexity deepened with each revelation, leaving investigators and the community mystified, eager to unveil the truth behind this eerie and unresolved occurrence. Adamski was widely recognized for his benevolent nature, holding no known adversaries or grudges. His mental state was stable, and he had been eagerly anticipating attending a family wedding scheduled for the day following his enigmatic vanishing. As word of this case got out, it carried a series of peculiar elements that simply couldn't be disregarded. Speculation concerning the potential involvement of extraterrestrial abduction began to spread, gaining momentum with the tabloids in the ensuing weeks. While such ideas may seem far-fetched, it proves challenging to entirely dismiss them, given the uncanny circumstances surrounding Adamski's demise. Todmorden and its nearby regions have gained notoriety as a hotspot for UFO sightings and unexplained occurrences. The intricate nature of this hypothesis gains further traction due to the captivating involvement of Alan Godfrey, who later found himself at the heart of his own alleged alien abduction account. Telling the story of Zigmund Adamski would be incomplete without delving into the parallel experience of Alan Godfrey, as these two narratives have become indelibly intertwined over time. The convergence of their story weaves a fabric of mystery and fascination that extends beyond conventional explanations. The eerie links between Adamski's disappearance and the realm of extraterrestrial encounters have captured the imagination of those drawn into the enigmatic. As we delve into their interconnected tales, we embark on a journey that challenges our perception and urges us to question the boundaries of our understanding. In November of 1980, approximately 6 months after the discovery of Adamski's lifeless body, another peculiar event unfolded. On duty in the early morning hours, Alan Godfrey responded to a peculiar report of a baffling phenomena. Eyewitnesses recounted observing a group of cows appearing and vanishing in various spots across the local council estate. Driving along Burnley Road towards the location of the latest sighting, Godfrey's attention was caught by what initially seemed to be an overturned double-decker bus roughly 200 meters ahead. It was beyond belief. Fearing a potential catastrophic incident involving a shift bus for local coal miners, anticipating the worst, he cautiously reduced his speed to assess the situation. However, as his police vehicle drew nearer to the scene, he quickly realized that it wasn't a bus at all, and whatever it was, it hovered above the ground. The object that confronted the police officer defied all logic and explanation. He could hardly come to terms with what he was witnessing. It was like something straight out of a science fiction movie, unfolding right before his eyes. He would later describe the object's shape as more akin to a diamond than a typical cigar or a disc form. The object emitted bright lights as it hovered, measuring about 20 feet in height and about 14 feet in width, spinning silently in the air. Confusion and fear gripped him. His immediate instinct was to call for backup for numerous reasons, primarily to have additional witnesses to this incredible sight. Godfrey attempted to request backup using both his personal radio and the police radio in his vehicle, only to find that they were inexplicably non-functional. With no immediate assistance available, he was left with an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. Determined to gather evidence and document this otherworldly encounter, he quickly noted the time and hastily sketched the peculiar craft. He managed to sketch the object he was observing in roughly 30 seconds. However, as he completed his sketch and lifted his eyes, the strange craft had vanished into thin air. Searching the surroundings for any lingering traces of the craft, he made a chilling and concerning discovery. His patrol car had inexplicably advanced along the road, covering nearly a quarter mile from its initial position. Perplexed by this strange occurrence, he glanced at his watch, only to be confronted with another unsettling realization. Despite the sensation that only a minute had passed, almost 30 minutes of time had vanished, leaving an unaccounted for gap in his recollection. To intensify the disconcerting nature of this incident, Godfrey would later make yet another unsettling discovery. The soles of his standard-issue police boots displayed signs of splitting at the toe, as though he had been pulled along the ground by an unforeseen force. Shortly after this encounter, Alan Godfrey returned to the police station, driven to seek help from his colleagues in locating the missing cattle. Together, they embarked on a search that led them to a rain-soaked field accessible solely through a securely locked gate. Despite the soft ground resulting from recent heavy rainfall, no traces of hoof prints could be discerned. Much like Zigmund Adamski, it appeared though as the cows had been inexplicably placed into the field. Following standard procedure, Godfrey reported his morning encounter with the strange object. Astoundingly, he uncovered that another driver, 3 miles further down the same road, had also witnessed the enigmatic white light and reported it to the Todmorden police. Weeks transpired without further incidents until an unfortunate turn of events unfolded. News of Godfrey's encounter with the strange craft somehow leaked to the press, thrusting him and his department into a whirlwind of embarrassment and scrutiny. Despite his status as an exemplary officer, having received 2 commendations for his past police work, Godfrey found himself marginalized by his peers and gradually losing favor with his superiors. His once promising career was shattered, and he eventually made the tough choice to depart from the police force. Years later, Godfrey engaged in multiple sessions of hypnotic regression, a method that allowed him to recall his otherworldly encounter in more vivid detail. Under hypnosis, Godfrey recollected being blinded by the light and subsequently losing consciousness. He told the hypnotist that upon awakening, he found himself in a strange room, being examined by several small creatures and a tall humanoid figure with a beard. Once more, his assertions were met with skepticism and ridicule. As I previously mentioned, due to his treatment by fellow officers and superiors, he decided to quit the police force. Would this be enough for you to leave your career? Several weeks after Godfrey's account had leaked to the newspapers and gained international attention, he was summoned to his inspector's office. There sat an individual in a dark suit and tie who introduced himself as the man from the ministry. Holding a file, he displayed Godfrey's sketch of the peculiar craft. While Godfrey was not allowed to see the remaining contents, he summarized that it likely contained his comprehensive report of the strange events from that day, along with the details of Zigmund Adamski's death. The individual instructed Godfrey to take an oath under the Official Secrets Act, binding him to silence regarding what he had witnessed. Reluctantly, Godfrey consented. Over the ensuing days, the young policeman encountered this individual on multiple occasions, becoming aware of him being shadowed. Ultimately, Godfrey confronted the man at his local pub, firmly expressing his desire for him to depart. Shortly after that confrontation, the mysterious man disappeared, never to be seen again. The identity of this enigmatic figure remains a mystery to this day. Godfrey believes he might have been an agent of MI5, dispatched to dissuade him from pursuing this matter. Another theory proposes that the stranger could have been a representative of the West Yorkshire Police, sent to warn off Godfrey against speaking to the media in order to prevent further attention being drawn to the force, already grappling with significant negative publicity due to the Yorkshire Ripper case, or perhaps he was one of the infamous Men in Black. When later recounting the enigmatic case of Zigmund Adamski, Godfrey openly acknowledged that it was one of the most perplexing assignments he had ever encountered. Reflecting on his own experiences, he remained uncertain about the roles of UFOs in Adamski's fate, although he refrained from entirely dismissing the possibility. Fast forward 25 years, and researchers from the British UFO Research Association and other organizations conducted interviews with Adamski's family members, uncovering intriguing revelations. Contrary to prior reports, it was revealed that Adamski hadn't been eagerly anticipating his goddaughter's wedding. In reality, a profound family rift had occurred during that time. A female relative had temporarily taken refuge with the Adamski family after obtaining a restraining order against her own husband. This led to considerable animosity between the two sides of the family, a common outcome during tumultuous separations. Given these newfound details, 2 main theories arose again regarding Mr. Adamski's whereabouts during those 5 days. On one hand, some speculate that he was forcibly abducted by the estranged husband of the female relative, held captive in an isolated shed, and subjected to torment, including the application of battery acid. This prolonged ordeal eventually led to his fatal heart attack. In a state of panic, the estranged husband may have quickly disposed of Adamski's lifeless body at the coal yard, attempting to conceal his heinous crime. However, this theory seems inadequate due to the myriad of elements in this case that don't align with it. It's puzzling why Adamski, seemingly neutral in the family dispute, would have been singled out for abduction. What purpose would his kidnapping have served? Moreover, the state of undress in which he was found adds another layer of intrigue. Why was he undressed? And what was the mysterious substance discovered on his skin? If his captor had intended to harm him, as suggested by the burn marks, why apply the substance? These perplexing details only deepen the mystery. Furthermore, the decision to place Adamski's body on top of a coal pile in broad daylight raises questions. Remember, his body wasn't at the location at 11 a.m., but was discovered there 5 hours later, in the middle of the afternoon. Why not hide it in a less conspicuous spot, at a less noticeable time of day? How did the person responsible for disposing of the body gain access to the coal yard without leaving any traces? These inquiries underscore the intricacies of the case and the necessity for a more thorough examination of the circumstances surrounding Adamski's disappearance and subsequent discovery. As we delve into the layers of this narrative, the uncertainties and unexplained elements remain captivating. A meticulous analysis of the facts, careful exploration of the alternative theories, and a steadfast pursuit of the truth are the avenues through which we may inch closer to unveiling the hidden mysteries within the Zigmund Adamski case. The lack of arrest or charges connected to the abduction introduces another layer of intrigue. It's evident that this theory falls significantly short of providing definitive answers. Consequently, many individuals turn their attention to the potential involvement of extraterrestrial forces. Is it conceivable that Adamski was somehow taken by beings beyond our world? According to this line of thought, Adamski could have been abducted by extraterrestrials on June 6th as he headed to the local grocery store. It's theorized that he might have been held in a state of suspended animation, which would account for the lack of facial hair growth and his healthy appearance upon his return. Perhaps he was intermittently brought in and out of a suspended state for examination or other purposes. Overwhelmed by the shock of his encounters with the otherworldly phenomena, it's assumed that Adamski suffered a severe cardiac arrest, ultimately leading to his premature passing. Contemplating the potential involvement of UFOs gives rise to a multitude of inquiries. Were these extraterrestrial entities conducting experiments or observing Adamski for an enigmatic purpose? What could have motivated his abduction? And if these beings from beyond were indeed responsible, how can one reconcile the particular circumstances surrounding the discovery of his body and the ensuing investigation? From within the enveloping Zigmund Adamski Vanishing, a chilling detail surfaces. It came to light Adamski's cherished possessions, symbols of his identity, had vanished alongside with him. For what intent might extraterrestrial beings have sought his coveted wallet and watch? Strikingly, most accounts of alien abduction scenarios hinted at an alternate narrative, although the experiences were undoubtedly terrifying and sometimes accompanied by an unsettling physical sensation. The abductors themselves were often depicted as somewhat benign, lacking harsh intentions toward their subjects. This leaves us to ponder, why did Adamski bear the marks of burns that appear to be intentionally inflicted? Could these have been unintentional actions on the part of his captors? And if so, what peculiar substance did they employ, as its chemical composition defied identification by contemporary science? Perhaps the most perplexing facet of this mystifying ordeal was how Adamski was unceremoniously abandoned atop a heap of coal, illuminated by the glaring daylight. Why would his captors opt for such a brazen act, forsaking the shadows where the secrets of their potentially malicious deeds could have remained concealed? Was there perhaps a hint of remorse at their conscience, compelling them to return him to his home and his loved ones? Regardless of our perspective, the Zigmund Adamski destiny remains unresolved. While the plausible narrative of a family feud might provide a partial explanation, it falls short of being totally conclusive. Indeed, we should not dismiss the prospect of an alternative hypothesis, no matter how fantastic or out of this world they may appear. The truth, it seems, evades us. A phantom relegated to the pages of history, yet another unsolved case that time has forgotten. If you've enjoyed this content from a universe of mystery, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new and upcoming videos.